The ever-divisive junction system of the Final Fantasy everyone loves to hate. I've heard many grievances at this point with regards to Final Fantasy VIII for numerous reasons that are often shallow and very often unfounded, or simply because the folks who have issue with it couldn't be bothered to understand it. However, when it comes to the junction system of FF8, I can understand. Admittedly, it is complex. It can be confusing to some, and so it has a bit of a learning curve, and naturally it takes time to really understand and even more so to use it well. But when has that stopped gamers before? There are various other games I can think of that have their own relative complicated systems and people still love them. For example, Xenogears, a deep combat combo system mixed with a mech battle layer, different EXP rules and confusing stat scaling. Still, it's regarded as one of the greatest RPGs ever. Final Fantasy Tactics, the job system was dense with hidden stat growths, overlapping skill sets and unclear mechanics, and yet players loved its depth despite poor explanations. Metal Gear Solid 2, the story and gameplay systems, alert phases, first-person aiming, tranquilizer management were overwhelming to new players, yet it's hailed as a masterpiece. So yes, the junction system has a learning curve, but if I, at 12 years old many years ago, when first playing the game, could eventually figure it out with relative ease with a bit of tinkering, it just tells me that you were lazy. But hey, let's say Square Enix actually does revisit the black sheep of the franchise and the Final Fantasy that folks love to hate, more than 13, weirdly enough. How could the junction system be tweaked to retain its core while making it just slightly better so that everyone, including those that don't want to activate their brains, can understand? I've seen various takes on, quote-unquote, fixing the junction system, doing some convoluted tweaks, etc., often more complicated than it needs to be. Some have even put forward the idea that the junction system should just be removed if ever Final Fantasy VIII got remade or whatever. Which just tells me, yet again, that these folks that say such things have no inkling at all as to the world and lore of Final Fantasy VIII. The junction system is intrinsic to the Final Fantasy VIII lore and world building. It's not just a gameplay tool, it's tied to the very nature of existence in that universe. Remove it and you compromise what Final Fantasy VIII is about. See, people simply can't use magic in the world of Final Fantasy VIII naturally, apart from sorceresses, creatures, etc. That's why it's called paramagic. Essentially, someone junctions a guardian force, aka a summon, to themselves, their consciousness or whatever, and this GF is then the conduit for which magic is cast through. This person doesn't then get an endless supply of magic at their disposal, they have to stock the magic from magical springs called draw points, or it must be drawn from enemy creatures or human enemies that have the magic stocked within themselves, due also to junctioning. You cannot remove the junction system from the game at all. It is part and parcel of the world of Final Fantasy VIII. By contrast, many other Final Fantasy systems, while innovative, exist outside their worlds, through lore at least. They're mechanical layers, not narrative ones. For example, Final Fantasy X's Sphere Grid. It's simply a visual leveling system where you unlock stat boosts and skills. It has minimal connection to the story, it's simply a visual representation of character growth. You could replace it with a standard EXP level system and nothing about Yuna's pilgrimage or Tidus's existence would change. See, the junction system isn't just some gameplay mechanic slapped on top of a traditional RPG structure. It is the structure. The entire concept of drawing magic, linking it to your stats and relying on guardian forces ties directly into the game's themes of memory, identity, and dependence. The system reflects the character's bond and even their loss of it. It is too closely tied to the game to simply be removed. And here's the thing, despite the criticism, the junction system actually allows for more player creativity than almost any other Final Fantasy. Every playthrough can feel completely different depending on how you experiment, what magic you draw, what stats you link it to, which guardian forces you favor for which character. It's a system that favors freedom and experimentation. In a way, it's the most personal Final Fantasy experience you can have, where your understanding of the mechanics directly mirrors your connection to the world itself. So maybe the real issue isn't that the system was confusing, maybe it was too creative for its time. However, one of the major gripes is that by using magic in battle that may be junctioned to your character, indicated by the symbol here, you are essentially weakening your character every time you wanted to use cure on a teammate, but you have that cure magic junctioned to your HP, for example. And there is a very simple fix for this. Simply have two magic menus: junction magic and battle magic. Similar to how in battle you can choose to stock magic or cast it when drawing it from the enemy. But now you have that available in your menu. Let's say you draw magic in battle from an enemy. That would automatically go into battle magic, and by default would not affect your junctioned magic, because that menu would not be available in battle. With me so far? You could maybe even alter this and make the magic you draw go into junctioned magic instead, let's say for a character who's not using magic in battle. Perhaps even have that as an option you can tick on and off. You can then go into your magic menu like this, and just like you would exchange magic between characters, you can then exchange it between battle magic and junction magic. Simple. Now, granted, this would make Final Fantasy VIII even more of a grind to get magic, but hey, simply make the amount of magic you get from drawing from enemies higher on average, or make draw points do the same, or have draw points more widespread. The junction system is non-negotiable whether you like it or not. It has to stay, and slightly tweaked perhaps, and that's all. Or maybe activate that sleeping brain of yours. Okay, I'm done. Goodbye.